Kavya, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, William.
For our listeners, Kavya Krishna is the founder and CEO of Society of Women Coders. So let's dive right in. Um, what is the Society of Women Coders, and why did you create this organization?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. Um, so, Society of Women Coders, or SOW Coders, is a nonprofit organization that battles gender based digital inequality in low
Mhm.
and middle income countries.
Okay.
I'm a data engineer turned social entrepreneur. I started, right out of college, I used to work as a data engineer for a company in New York City. And I started this organization kind of like a thing on the side to give back. In 2018, we would call ourselves Sisterhood of Traveling Coders, and me and my co-founder at the time, we
Mhm.
would use our own savings and vacation days to travel to different developing countries and set out boot camps.
Mhm.
Um, because at the time there wasn't anything that was happening for girls in STEM in developing countries, even though there was Girls Who Code and other organizations working in America and Canada.
Mhm.
So we thought that because we were both from developing countries, it only made sense for us to start something for girls like us.
Yeah. And since you've created the organization, what has been the impact? How have you kind of tackled this issue?
Um, the way we've tackled it has changed, like has evolved with
Hmm.
years. I was working part time on the mission till 2021. Before that, we would do boot camps and more like online only coding without border programs for girls. But now we tackle it with the four main pillars that we have, which is training, infrastructure support, community specific support, and culture specific support to our girls.
And what are the metrics that you view are critical towards determining what you are doing is having like an impact? What's the success there?
So we've trained 40,000 girls since 2018
Hmm.
um, in 57 countries, including our on ground and virtual programs.
Hmm.
We have three metrics primarily, which is exposure, motivation, and retention.
Hmm.
40,000 is for exposure. So basically, all the girls that have signed up for these programs showed up to the first class. Motivation is kind of the girls that sign up to be part of our Slack channel, alumni channel, community. And then retention is because we work with high school girls and data collection is a problem, especially in developing countries. We're still figuring out how to really measure or gauge retention for these
Hmm.
girls.
Is it the goal for these girls then to pursue like a computer science degree, to attend university, or get a job in software engineering, computer science, etc.?
First, the goal is to expose them to the possibility.
Hmm.
So the first step is we want them to have access to this opportunity and
Yeah.
understanding of the fact that they can use this program and education and careers in STEM as a path to financial independence.
Yeah. And do you know, is it the goal for these girls who have taken the classes to then maybe go to another country, or just where those girls are currently, like to get jobs there? Is there a particular hope or aspiration for kind of populations, girls in kind of, as you mentioned, not in the U.S., not in Canada, but in more developing countries?
So this is very relative, and every program works and operates differently. One thing that we do is we offer this ambassador program, which is sort of like an informal leadership program that allows our alumni to be leaders and take the mission of the organization to their communities and start chapters. A lot of our alumni ambassadors have used this program as an opportunity to showcase their leadership potential to universities around the world and
Hmm.
gotten into some really prestigious programs on full ride scholarships to study STEM courses. And we didn't start this out as something to go there, but then when we saw so many of our ambassadors making this brilliant impact while also getting these opportunities,
Hmm.
we kind of formalized the program. And I feel like when you take a girl
Yeah.
who's coming from a community where she didn't have access to any of this. And now she's going to college in Dartmouth or Princeton on a full ride scholarship. You're not just impacting the girl, you are making a generational impact. You're doing something which will change the course of life for her and her family forever.
Yeah, absolutely. What was kind of the thought process of creating this organization as a nonprofit versus a for-profit enterprise, perhaps?
Honestly, like I had no idea when we started out of what we wanted to do with this. This was only a way for us to give back, like I said. We
Mhm.
were already in very cushy, comfy jobs,
Right.
living in New York, living the life. So we didn't really need to do this like in a more formal manner. It was just something we did to give back.
Hmm.
So when we first realized that this had potential and we wanted to register it, I looked into different structures, and I felt like a nonprofit would be the best structure for us because it was an organization that was run by volunteers. We weren't a lot of full-time employees at the time, so it felt like the right structure for us. But now, when the organization's been around for a bit, I do see the value in starting like a for-profit thing, so that we are a sustainable, self-sustainable organization. So maybe switching the model a little bit and creating a hybrid model now would be the right path for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that you've led the organization for a little over 3 years, full time, right? Um, what was kind of the thought process of like creating this for as yourself as just kind of a founder versus like maybe having a team? I know you said you did a co-founder with the previous initiative or effort, but as you solidified this, why what was the reason for you to kind of like be the person to kind of create it?
Um, what do you mean? Like, why did I do it by myself, or
Yeah. Or like why do efforts? Yeah, so a lot of podcast guests in the past sometimes they'll create their own thing versus doing it with a co-founder. Perhaps what was kind of your thought process behind that? And so for future folks who might listen to this, if they're trying to debate between doing an initiative and effort for profit or non-profit by themselves, was another. It's important to be able to present different perspectives.
so it was. I always had a co-founder in a way because the whole program started together. Me and Farah, we did it
Hmm.
together. Everything, all the structure in the beginning was together. But
Hmm.
then I kind of wanted to do this full time, and
Got it.
so they wanted to stick to the job that they had, and
Makes sense.
yeah, which is at the time worked out. So that's why I took it forward as a full time work and became a founder.
Yeah, of course, that makes a lot of sense. You have to be able to make that determination. If you're going to dive full in and somebody isn't, then that is, of course, important for building any important venture up to scale.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a very personal decision.
Yeah.
Like Farah is, she was so involved and she leads so many of our Haiti initiatives, and she's like the reason we are doing everything we're doing today.
Hmm.
But she had babies and a family and all of it to figure out, so it
Yeah.
was much easier for me to just go into it all in.
Yeah. In the last 3 years, how has the organization grown? You said you've impacted 40,000 uh, girl coders at this point. What was it like for the organization as it grew? How many full time staff does it have now?
We still only have three full-time people in the US. We have a lot of freelancers and volunteers. The tech work is all freelancers. Our teachers are all freelancers in a way, contractors,
Mhm.
because we only need them part time. Our program admins are pretty much hired for the project. So it's
Mhm.
very distributed like that based on the program that's being run and the sponsorship we have for the program.
Yeah. And for kind of this goal of the organization, which is to, educate women, girls on computer science, why this specific goal in terms of, tackling, improvements for that segment of the population? What was kind of the inspiration for you to specifically help people get coding in low and middle income countries?
I think it's like a supply demand kind of a thing because And I talk about this all the time. And there's a UN report that came out in 2023.
Hmm.
Low and middle income countries actually lose out on $1 trillion in GDP
Hmm.
because of the exclusion of women from the digital sphere. And by 2030, 90% of the jobs globally will require some kind of a digital component. So
Hmm.
all we're really doing is setting up our girls for success, setting the girls that don't have access to be able to, be a part of the workforce, to be at better mothers, better family, you know, family heads, and whatever role they might want to take in the future to just be able to do that better. We want to set them up for success.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What has been some of the biggest challenges so far you've had in scaling the organization, perhaps from 2021 to now? That was around the time of COVID, still being really impactful. Uh, how has it been growing the organization?
I think COVID was quite interesting because before COVID, we were only on ground. Like we would just do boot camps, and COVID kind of like was the reason we were able to create an online program and get to the scale that where we are today. We had this really successful program called Coding Without Borders. We did multiple iterations of the program, and that was the reason we were able to reach thousands and thousands of girls around the world. Um, so I feel like scaling, COVID was the reason we were able to create or get to the scale that we've gotten to.
Hmm.
Um, your first question, which was what were the challenges that we faced? I think I think at every stage the challenges change.
Hmm.
At first we were struggling to understand how we can scale. Now we're trying to understand how to get to a deeper impact instead of just like I said, the exposure metric is coming to a point, but what about retention? What about making sure that we can work with these girls for a longer period of time and not just the 20-week after school program that we do.
Right.
Um, so so those are some of the challenges on the impact and impact measurement side. But then there's always the financial sustainability angle that every nonprofit has to understand, that how will we be financially sustainable in the next 5 years,
Yeah.
and to be able to create a model around it has also been a big challenge.
Yeah. Building on that challenge, you are also right now you're a full time student as well, right? You've
I
been
just
this past
graduated
year,
from Harvard
right?
recently.
So what was it like juggling kind of like a full time degree in the graduate school of education and managing this nonprofit essentially at the same time this past year?
I think I dedicated my year entirely to the work I do at Society of Women Coders, using all the opportunities I could use at Harvard. Um, for like enrolling in Harvard Innovation Labs, getting the Social Impact Fellowship, then getting another fellowship with Harvard Graduate School of Education, which is the Hugsy Education Entrepreneurship Fellowship,
Okay.
uh, and then engaging with the mentors here. I took this class at HBS, which is Social Entrepreneurship and System Change by
Hmm.
Professor Brian Trelstad. And I learned so much about different social entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurs, and met so many of them here. um, so I feel like my whole year was in a way, and in fact, you get to pitch an organization in class, in this class where you're talking. And I pitched my own organization and
Hmm.
talked about how we could improve Society of Women Coders. So the whole year, in a way, I was working for Society of Women Coders while at school. And I think Hugsy
Hmm.
gives you that flexibility to be able to take different courses, learn from different segments, and chart out your own path. We
Yeah.
were also able to raise money because of, using the fact that we were part of the innovation labs, and we had access to all these advisors here and the community here. It has been such a big blessing for the brand.
Um, what are some lessons you've learned about yourself as a leader? Managing this organization that you perhaps didn't know about yourself.
That's a great question. I think one thing I've learned is that you need to have a high tolerance for risk. And I think people say it's over and over again that you need to be a risk taker. But even as a social entrepreneur, you need to be able to take risk. And feel okay to experiment, feel okay to put yourself into uncomfortable positions.
Absolutely.
Um, I find myself. I think I feel like I don't give myself enough chances to do that, and I want to do more of that as I go forward into my journey with the organization.
What are some specific things this next year that you're really focused on for the organization? How do you expect it to grow and change, or what unique new initiatives might you be focused on, perhaps?
Um, I'm actually doing another master's right after this. So as I head into that master's program, I want to really focus on, and I'm also joining the Launch Lab Accelerator here at Innovation Labs. So I am trying to focus on the organization, but my biggest goal is to find a co-founder,
Hmm.
someone I can work with, and who has the same passion for the mission. And then, like I said, I want to build a deeper program.
Yeah,
So something which is so like a longer 4-year program for like 100 of our girls, that would take them from like ninth grade to 12th grade and help them with college admissions and scholarships. So I'm in the process of like finding or designing that program. So that's kind of the two things that I want to focus on.
yeah, absolutely. Well, why pursue another master's? Like, why do you feel another degree is
Actually, the goal
necessary?
was always grad school. The goal was always to do a 2-year program.
Hmm.
But then I found these two different programs, 1 year each in two different universities, and I just created my own
Got it.
master's experience. So 1 year here, 1 year at Oxford, and then I'm all set.
Got it. Um, and so you're taking these programs in the U.S. and Oxford, of course, in England. Um, you know, are the how are you planning to kind of bridge, like, you know, resources in these countries or these universities specifically to perhaps, the people you're trying to really help in this nonprofit specifically, um, or
What
like
do you
why the pursuit of an education in the US and then in like the UK to advance the goals of your organization?
Well, I came to the US for my undergrad. And at that time, my goals were different. At that time, my goal was to become financially independent myself.
Yeah,
So when I first got here, that was the idea. And then when I switched to starting an organization, US is home. I've been in this country for 10 years.
got it.
So the idea of going to grad school has got more to do with the fact that I am a techie and I don't really have formal education or a network of founders and social impact leaders.
Yeah.
And then the other degree that I'm doing is a business degree. So that would probably help me to be like better at creating the financial sustainability angle that I was talking about within the organization.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. um, you're at the Harvard Innovation Lab and they support a lot of startups and new ventures specifically. What resources did you feel you received uniquely, perhaps from the Harvard Innovation Lab, that supports like a nonprofit and social impact oriented organization?
I think the Innovation Labs has so many opportunities. It's like it's impossible to use all of them in a year.
Hmm.
I felt overwhelmed at the amount of opportunities and um, just like programs I could be part of. But anybody that runs a nonprofit organization and is coming to Harvard, they should take advantage of applying to the Social Impact SIFF, which is Social Impact Fellowship Fund. They
Hmm.
should also apply to BIC, which is President's Innovation Challenge, and in the social impact track. And then they have a plethora of advisors and mentors and such accomplished people who've run these organizations, especially the ALI fellows at Kennedy that are mentors here at the innovation lab. Like, you'll find a bunch of innovation fellows. You'll find so many different kind of people who you can just grab time with um, through your membership portal at iLab. So I think that has been really beneficial for me. I've been able to meet a lot of really successful social entrepreneurs, and just learn from them, hear out what they think about my organization and the work I do here. So
Mhm.
I feel like it has been a great way to just build the organization while being a student.
Makes a lot of sense. Um, really focused on the future. Would you? How important is coding and computer science? I guess as a as a skill set you feel.
I think it is extremely important, even now when we have AI, and we're trying to like incorporate AI literacy into our programs to like teach our girls, at least introduce them to what it is and teach them what prompt engineering really is.
Yeah.
But I feel that one thing that coding teaches you is how to be logical, like how to have that logical mindset.
Mhm.
And that is a transferable skill. So that is, I think, the biggest value add of learning how to code. But another thing is if you're doing website development, you also learn how to present something that you're building.
Right.
Um, and that and having like something tangible like a link or like a project that you can share with your community and with your people just gives you so much more confidence to be able to pursue anything, whether it is your skill set further or just some idea that you have and you're able to present it using a website, especially as a teenager,
Mhm.
in a developing country. Yeah, so I think coding, like I said, the mindset that it helps you develop is a transferable skill set that can be used in any form or ways in the future.
And what are kind of like the main countries that you're really focused on for the nonprofit right now? To make the biggest possible impact.
That's a great question. We have a corporate program running in Latin American countries, which we're trying to really focus on. And then we have this program for US states, which is like Puerto Rico, that we run. It is again a 20-week program. So we're trying to like focus on that. We have Coding Without Borders, which is again all over the world. Um, we have ambassadors in all these different countries that are doing their own versions of the program.
Yeah,
So everybody has their own version of what they're doing with the organization, but the mission remains the same. So that's kind of like the geography we're trying to be in.
makes a lot of sense. Well, I think that is all the questions that I think I have. So, Kavya, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Thank you so much, William. This is amazing. It's also helped me reflect on a lot of things.
Definitely.